Back in the 1970s, a Stanford psychologist named Walter Mischel did a simple experiment that became one of the most famous studies in psychology. It's now known as the marshmallow test. This test was done on preschoolers to see who could wait and resist the marshmallow so that they could get two marshmallows. But here's the truth. The marshmallow test isn't really about willpower. It's about awareness. It's noticing the urge before we act on it. It's asking, what am I really craving right now?
Remember that marshmallow test, a simple choice, one treat now or two later, defined as a generation of self control? But what happens now that we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond? The treats get bigger and the wait is longer. In this episode, we're going to talk about the grown up marshmallow test, both from saving for retirement to investing in your health. It's about playing the long game, even when the timeline might be a little bit shorter. Today, thank you for joining us. I'm Jenn.
And I'm Erin, and we are Life Beyond the Scale.
Just a couple of friends that don't know what we're doing, we're making a podcast or how to upload and edit, all of those things that we are learning. But between the two of us, so many years in the healthcare field and weight management field, and we're just coming at you to kind of discuss some things that we face in midlife. And hopefully, we can give you a few strategies to walk away with a new skill.
We're so glad you're here. We have our special segment at the end, so you'll want to stay till the very end for Jenn's Coaching Corner.
All right, Erin, do you remember the marshmallow test? I think I first heard it or watched a video of it back in high school psychology 101.
I do, and I was thinking about it as an adult, and I remember thinking that that's a pretty big ask for children, and sometimes a really big ask for adults as well. That, when you're hungry or you want something that looks really good in front of you.
I don't know if you've seen this on social media lately, but there is like the two parents or maybe siblings with that little toddler instead, and they all have a paper plate in front of them. And first, like dad unlifts the napkin that's covering his paper plate and there's a cookie. And then the little toddler lifts off theirs and there's two cookies. And then mom goes to undoes her napkin over her plate and there's no cookies. And it's almost like a modern version of that marshmallow test to see which child is upset that mom doesn't have cookies and shares, and how many kids are like, oh, that's too bad, mom. And then they just, proceed to eat. Some I've seen like break off a tiny chunk and hand that to mom. But it's been, it's kind of funny to watch and to see, how kids are responding. But back in the 70s or whenever this test was first done, there was a little bit more psychology to it of saying this was going to be a predictor of future success. I'm not sure that still relates, or that science still, maybe pertains. But I think we're coming at it today of looking at it from adult midlife perspective of immediate gratification versus delayed gratification, right? That when we get rewarded, there's that dopamine hit in the brain that like, oh, I need it. I love it. This makes me happy. It brings me joy. Or can I wait for greater joy by focusing on something down the line? So I guess in your world and in your life now here, in your mid 50s, what do you think is the biggest challenge for you when it comes to immediate gratification or delayed gratification?
Because we're nearing retirement. Looking back at how during the lean years, and there were lean years, we knew that we needed to save money, but yet there were times when we really couldn't afford to save money. We really needed all the money, but we made the decision to have money taken automatically out, kind of out of sight, out of mind, never hit the bank account, never had to do anything about it. It just was like in never land per se, kind of like the way in the one video where the little boy is just like hiding his eyes from the marshmallow and then looking and being like, okay, still there. Oh, that's still there. Retirement money is kind of like that because of the stock market. You're like, oh, it's up. Oh, it's down. Oh, it's up. Oh, it's down. So thinking about how the energy that it takes to be like, okay, I'm looking at the bigger picture. There's
Mhm.
things I want, but right now I have to look ahead and think responsibly of like, okay, I want to be comfortable in my
Mhm.
old age. I want to feel safe and secure. And so making these decisions is uncomfortable, but yet necessary. And then it got me thinking about how I could have that energy and be able to do that easily in some ways.
Mhm.
But there are times when I'm faced with something with my health and I'm like, oh, I'll worry about that tomorrow. Where even though retirement was so far out, now it's getting closer. We just bought a second house in Michigan and we went back and forth, back and forth. Do we take the money and buy this house, or do we keep holding on to it? And I said, you know what? We're trading one asset for another. It's
Oh, yeah.
not like we're just going to Italy for a year and traveling.
Okay.
So this made me think about the marshmallow
Mhm.
theory of like, is it okay to do this with retirement money?
Well, you're much better than we are at this point in our lives with kids of, ranging from high school to married with children and college in between and all of that. I feel like I can't even imagine retiring. I can't even we're in those lean years, the paying for bigger expenses, now traveling to around the country to see the children that are starting to spread out. And so I guess this would be something that I'm going to learn from as well, that I need to realize that we are in our 50s, and are we going to work until we can't stand up? Maybe if we keep going at this pace. Or are there some financial decisions that are going to need to take a little bit more of that self control, looking towards the future of. And so I guess I would have been that
It's
kid eating
hard
all the marshmallows.
when it's so far out. It's like never, never land. But it's also a scary time because it's like, okay, I hope we made the right decision to do this. I spent more time worried about that than
Yeah.
decisions I've made about, oh, I don't know, my own health at times where it's
Yeah.
like, maybe I should
At
spend
that
a little bit more
time,
time. So this whole gratification with the marshmallow and the kids and adults.
where if we go back into childhood and remember, um, the remote control on the TV, right now having to get up and change it, or a microwave, being able to, heat up a meal or, a snack nowadays in seconds. I mean, it's terrible, but there are times that I stand next to the stupid microwave, which I know is a whole nother health issue, right? And like there's 3 seconds left and I'm opening the door because I can't wait for that full minute to be done. And so like we want it and we want it now. And the brain is just triggering to be like, yes, yes, yes. Right now, we're little toddlers with no patience. And according to psychology, it's like this U shape, which I'm going to say is, in my visual, the way that I think, it's more of like an upside down U, where it says the lower ability to delay gratification, if we're like thinking of that U, is going to be childhood and later in life, right? Because later in life, we're looking at, hey, maybe I don't have as many years left. And toddlers, right, their brain hasn't developed to know that there is such a thing as
Years, what are
delayed
years?
gratification. Right. And so at those two peaks, I guess, of the U, it's at the lowest, and where it's the highest, where we have the ability to learn delayed gratification, where we have the brain that is able to compensate and understand that there's better out there for us if we can just wait a few minutes or a few years or a few months or whatever that might be, that something is better. So although we think, oh my gosh, how would we do this? This is the actual time that's best for us to learn and strengthen this muscle in our brain to be able to say, hey, there are things that I want more than what I want in the moment, but I got to pause long enough to actually know what it is.
Yeah.
But even with the weight management, like if we break that down, like weight management doesn't just come off, it takes mindful eating and exercise. And so to consistently exercise, let's say to consistently walk after meals, or for us to wear our weighted vest, right? Like to be consistent. We won't even ask if Erin's is out of the box yet. But
It's out
I'm
of the box. I wear it around the house while I'm doing. I haven't been outside of my house with it, but I've been inside my house wearing it. Yes. So there.
I'm just teasing. Yeah, I'm just teasing. Yeah. So let's say to be consistent wearing it in the house, out of the house, whatever, to go for that walk. The immediate gratification is if I just stay sitting on the couch a little bit longer, I'm relaxed, I'm cozy, I'm enjoying a show, I'm enjoying sitting with my family. All of that is in the moment right now. Yay, me. I'm happy. Why change it? The idea of being uncomfortable to go outside of our norm and to wait for some delayed gratification is to consistently throw on that vest and go for the walk. When I know that I'm kind of missing out on the couch, but in the long term, am I at a lower risk for any type of future disease? Yes. Is the weight coming off? Yeah, but it's going to take some time. Am I getting stronger? Absolutely. But it's going to take some time to build that habit and to sit, I think, as you mentioned, to like really feel the feelings, to sit in the moment, and to find the reward of how is it benefiting me now to go out and do this walk, so that I want to do it again the next time. Because one walk is not lowering my blood pressure or my A1C, and we didn't lose 5 pounds because you went for one walk after dinner. So we're going to have to stretch it. I know, darn it. Like no six pack after one sit up. We got to figure out like, what is it? What else am I getting as a reward while I'm on that walk? Am I enjoying nature? Is that my quiet time where I can listen to this podcast? Is this my time where I can meet neighbors? Am I exercising, the family dogs so that they are not crazy when they're at home? There are rewards, but we have to pause long enough to recognize it.
Oh, no, one more show, or, oh, I think it's going to rain. Better not.
Yeah, you're right. We're looking for the excuse because we'd rather not look long term. We'd rather look in the moment, and in the moment this is better. And that goes with mindful eating as well, right? Like those temptations, the junk food, the impulsive cravings that pop up, we want that instead of deciding that I'm really craving, a healthier meal that's going to require some time and effort and planning. But my reward might be better weight management, like lowering the risk of disease, just like that exercise. But in the moment, we start to feel like that it's temporary. Like there won't be a pumpkin spice in 2 months, it'll all be peppermint or something. Right,
Yeah.
we live in America. Most of us have not felt actual hunger. Most of us just don't like what's in the house right now. It doesn't feel like it's right. Like I'm not feeling like whatever is in my cabinet, my refrigerator. Yeah. So we treat it like this is some huge treat that we'll never see again. No, just wait 8 months. It'll be back around. Or you can probably buy it online. Amazon probably has apple cider donuts 12 months out of the year. I have no idea. Another reason why like, how angry do you get when Amazon takes 3 days instead of 24 hours?
I don't want to admit it, but yes.
Oh,
I want
I
it
know. It's like,
now.
I really want to be like, shame on me. This probably also ties into those that are struggling with, addictions, right? Like that dopamine hit of the nicotine rush, or the relaxation of a buzz off of an alcoholic cocktail. We want that now, and in the moment we forget about the long-term health benefits that would come from abstaining from some of those things. What strategies can we share with our listeners that will help? Like, so maybe you're out there as a listener right now thinking, yeah, I do this when it comes to food, exercise, beverages, finances, projects around the house, whatever that might be. We continue to put them off. Let's share a few strategies that maybe would be helpful. Any that are coming to mind off the top of your head?
Well, I was just thinking about the little boy covering his eyes from the marshmallow, and I thought, how many of us will hide the things that we don't want to eat out of sight, out of mind? That's been a strategy of like, no, put it out in the garage so that I have to walk all the way outside the house, across the yard, into the garage to go get said item,
Yeah.
putting that buffer between us. The out of sight, out of mind thought of it. I can also think about that with social media. Even stop me from going for a walk because I'm like, oh, one more scroll, one more scroll. Well, no, go put it in the kitchen on the charger and forget about it.
Yeah, almost eliminating the trigger. Right. So
Yes.
if the phone's the trigger, it's almost right. Like we always talk about our habit loops. It's almost like interrupting that habit loop. The trigger might be there for me to feel the need to pick up my phone, but if my phone isn't in eyesight, I'd have to, walk all the way to the kitchen. I might not
Yes.
do it. I might be reminded to say, "Oh wait, there's something else I could be working on right now." Or
Yeah.
with the food, as you said. Yeah, that's a great strategy. Just let's eliminate it. Let's remove it from the environment. We know the environment has such a big impact on our actions, right? Our thoughts and our feelings for sure impact, our next behavior, but that outside force or that internal, force around the environment of who's around us physically, emotionally, the food, the smells, all of that. So yeah, let's get rid of those triggers. I like that.
What about
Um,
you? What would you suggest?
yeah, I would say this is probably the hardest for me but it's that visualizing the outcome of what I really want. And,
Yes.
even as a health coach to just, think about almost like our future self, but to really clearly, with as many details as possible, for me to imagine myself at maybe in retirement, maybe with a second home like you guys will have, sitting on a river with a fishing pole? Or is it imagining myself at my best health or fitting into a certain outfit, being able to be mobile, right? Like to think of myself, 20, 30 years from now, will I be mobile or immobile? But we have to imagine it with clarity and as many details as possible to reinforce that motivation of why I'm going to wait. Kind of that
Why
power of
it's
the
important.
pause. Yeah. Yeah. Why is it important? But if I don't see it, I don't know where I'm going. I like to, I've kidded in some of my workshops with, at work where I've said my daughter and son now that they live in southern Georgia, and I know that that's south, right? Like I know Georgia is south of Illinois. So I could jump in the car and just head south. And eventually I'm going to probably get pretty close to her. But if I opened up a MapQuest or a paper map and typed in that address, I know the exact route to get there. I'm going to get there in less time because I know where I'm going. And sometimes when it comes to our health, we're just like
Ooh.
wandering around being like, I hope this is the right way. I hope my car, figures it out. No, I need to know where I'm going. Unless I can picture that.
The visualization is such a powerful tool. You hear so much about how Olympic coaches, how they train
Yeah.
athletes,
Yeah.
how they focus on how they're going to feel when they're standing there, what their breath is going to feel like, what does the temperature feel like,
Mhm.
really have a complete physical feeling of what it's going to be like. It makes it more real. And when it becomes real, you're more likely, instead of, well, it's just out there. Well, I've never hit that bed before, so it's maybe it'll happen, but maybe it won't. I think many of us talk ourselves out of things because we're like, well, I've tried before and I haven't gotten where I want to be,
Yeah.
so that's a lot of work and I don't know if I want to put all the steps all I don't know if I
Right.
want to put the address into the MapQuest to figure out how many steps it's going to take to get to Georgia.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
or your health goal or whatever.
It does take work. And what doesn't take work is just opening the bag of chips and sitting on the couch. Right. And so we're looking for
Amen.
that Yeah, we're kind of looking for that easy out. Just like, and again, not to tease you or criticize, but how long your weighted vest sat in the box. Because in some ways it starts to feel like there's all these steps. Well, I have to pick it up and it's heavy. And then I got to find a knife to open the tape on the box. And then I have to take the box to the recycling, and then I have to put on the vest. And will someone think I'm wearing a bulletproof vest, or will they make fun of me, or whatever that might, like, the brain is really trying to justify and protect us by not doing anything. So let's just leave it for a little bit longer, right? But where the brain is, the body follows, just like those Olympic athletes. If they think I'm an Olympian, they will train like an Olympian. If they're thinking I might win or I might not, I'll probably lose, well, then why even try? Why even put in the work?
I would imagine that I am not the only person who's overcomplicated things to the point of, well, that's going to take a lot of work. I'll have to wait on that for the perfect opportunity. And the perfect day is not really existing in my life. So, just rip open the box and put it on. Let's go.
Right. 3, 2, 1,
4 weeks.
go. Well, no judgment, because I have my own things that I keep putting off, and sometimes even like bending down to look some way, to bend down to pull out a food scale, or a Tupperware lid or whatever. I mean, seriously, sometimes that has been my excuse of, well, I might as well finish these last few bites instead of having to look for the Tupperware and the Tupperware lid. That sounds hard because I'm imagining, right, 10 steps ahead, I'm going to open that cupboard and all the lids are going to come out and none of them are going to fit. In the meantime, I could have just eaten it and been done. Well, no, I wasn't hungry. I didn't need to eat those last few bites. If anything, I should have just tossed them. But we're almost giving ourselves a reason to not do the work. So start with a pause, right? Like, we've got a couple good strategies here, but maybe we have to force the pause, whether that's meditating, visualizing, praying, deep breathing, box breathing, whatever it will take for you to be able to be in the moment. I think there's even a strategy of that waves of, like, imagining, right? Maybe I've never lost the 50 pounds before. Maybe I've never, run a mile, whatever that thing is for you. Maybe maybe I come from a family who doesn't own second homes. And so I don't even know if that's a thing that I can do. There's a strategy of just imagining a wave, right? Most of us can picture a wave, whether we've been at the beach ourselves or if we've seen a movie on TV. But if you can imagine your feet in the sand, staring out into the horizon, and the waves are slowly building, and then they're coming closer and closer, and then they crash against your feet, your bare legs. We would probably even feel that cold water right now. But then it dissipates and it slowly, like, goes back out, and then and then we can watch it, so we can see it coming in, that desire to stay on the couch, the desire to play one more game, the desire to have one more snack. But just wait, let that wave crash over you, let it slow down and trickle back out with a few deep breaths. Maybe I can imagine that, even if I can't see my future self in a place that I've never been before.
I had one last thought. A vision board. Remember when people got magazines and they'd cut out all those things? Even if you don't get magazines, go to Pinterest, search through, and make a board of all the things you want to see, all the things you want to be doing, you want to own, you want to be part of. Make a board, something so that you have something to look at, something tangible.
Right, and to remind
I think
ourselves of what that goal is.
same thing with having pictures to look at and be like, okay, this is my goal. This is my dream house. This is the dress I want to wear. This is how I want to look when I go to this event. This is, I want to run a marathon. I want to learn how to ski. It's a dream board, which means anything is possible. Where so many of us stifle ourselves and say, well, that's just not realistic. So I'm not even going to bother to try to do it. Who's to
Yeah,
know
who
whether
said?
it's
Yeah,
realistic if you haven't tried it? I mean, look at us with this thing. I mean, come on.
exactly. Yeah. Well, and look at you with all the editing, and now to be able to be on so many other platforms, outside of YouTube, as you've stretched and strengthened this muscle of, like, hey, I can learn something new. right? So I love
Yes.
that. And on the idea of the vision board or even the future self visualization, I want to maybe just remind our listeners and ourselves as well that it's okay to reevaluate, right? Like we
Yeah.
might along the way reevaluate to say, okay, maybe that isn't the goal anymore, or maybe I've met that. And so what's my next part of this vision? Or maybe that vision is too far away. And so in the intermediate, I need some little almost baby goals, baby rewards so that
Yeah.
when it comes to weight management, maybe not rewarding ourselves with food, but maybe that idea of, will I treat myself to that massage? Will I hire an organizer to come and help me work on that project instead of trying to add that to my to-do list? There might be some things along the way to
Yeah.
encourage and motivate you, but know it's okay to reevaluate and be like, you know what? The weighted vest wasn't for me. I'm going to try something else. Or maybe I need, a group exercise program instead of that self walk. It's okay to change it along the way, but to remind ourselves of that power of the pause and to practice these strategies on self-control. It's not about willpower, right? But it's a learnable
Yeah.
skill, and we can train our minds to focus on future rewards, just like those little children with the marshmallows and those that distracted themselves and waited to have more than one marshmallow when, you know, the teacher returned. I think there's more ways to build that muscle. I love these strategies, and we will kind of love to hear, where we could put this into practice. Like, what's the takeaway? Where can I work on this myself? When do I feel that in the moment impulse? And to remind ourselves that even if we just are setting a timer and saying, hey, I'm going to do this other thing for 10 minutes. And then in 10 minutes, if I still want that snack, I'm going to eat the snack. Or if in 10 minutes, I still want to stay on the couch and not go for the walk. But I think even just by waiting that 10 minutes, you're back in the driver's seat, right? And it's not that impulse of that brain wanting that dopamine hit or that quick high of, ooh, I like cookies, or ooh, I like the cozy couch. But it's the, wait a second, do I want this? Is this helping me reach my future self or my future goals or not? And even if I choose to eat or choose to sit, I chose it instead of reacting to it. I'm
Oh,
responding
that's a
to
bit.
it.
There's a big there. There's a big difference between those two. When you make the conscious choice of, I choose this. I'm just not going to just let it happen. I choose this.
I can't wait to hear from our listeners and where they will plug this in. I think that in my immediate gratification right now, I'm going to really revisit this idea of my future self and what that looks like health wise, and to remind myself why it's important to get out and take those evening walks and what they bring me, as that's been a habit that's it's slowly unraveling. So I need to tighten that habit back up. What do you think you'll work on delaying gratification for?
With all the hours I've spent editing YouTube videos, I have noticed that I have been sitting way more than I'm used to. And so my husband had mentioned how he wants to go to the pool. And so now have an accountability partner of, I said, okay, these are the mornings that I can go with you to the pool. I'm going to get up early. So you go to the pool and I'll go to the track and get my walk in. And he loved that idea, because then we're kind of both holding each other
Yeah,
accountable, and we're putting our goal top of mind. We actually have time and days that we're actually going to do it.
smart.
It's not just, well, we should do that. And then, okay, well, when? Oh, well, I can't. Actually looking at our schedule and saying, well, this is the time that we can do it. So stay
A
tuned.
little bit of planning. Yeah,
Hasn't happened yet, but
absolutely.
it's coming.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you out there that are thinking about this, try starting small, waiting 2 minutes, then 5, build up for that thing that you want right now in the moment, and know that your brain is going to learn that it's okay and worth the wait. So stick around. I'll be right back with you with our 1 minute coaching corner. So see you soon. Today, I want to talk to you about cravings. How sometimes a craving just hits us out of nowhere and we start to feel really powerless. Look at them with curiosity and try to watch them rise and fall without being swept up into the emotion. And this is exactly what a technique that I want to talk to you about is called urge surfing. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that our cravings are dangerous, and perhaps every time that we've ever even tried to let a urge pass, we've failed, and over time we've just given in. And when we give in, maybe it feels great. Maybe it feels like relief. And so we're teaching the brain that habit loop that we often talk about on the podcast, right? That there's an urgency, and then we eat and we give into that behavior, and then we feel relief. And we're teaching the brain that this is what we should do. But there is a skill called urge surfing that can help us ride those waves without giving in. Think of a craving like a wave in the ocean. It rises, there's a peak, and then it starts to fade away, even if you don't fight it. So when the urge hits, I want us to pause, take some deep breaths. When you hear that voice that says, no, I need it now, imagine yourself surfing that wave, steady, calm, and curious. We're not trying to stop it. We're learning to stay with it until it passes. And it's going to. Most urges fade within 10 to 15 minutes. And now I'm going to allow that urge some space. So I'm going to visualize myself out on the beach with a craving rising and falling like a wave. I'm going to stay curious and ask, is it growing? Is it holding steady? Is it starting to ease out? Reminding myself that this craving is not going to last forever. So I want you to take a deep breath, maybe even close your eyes. I've never surfed, so I'm not going to imagine myself on a surfboard, but I love being on the ocean, hearing the waves crash, smelling that salt water, the breeze on my face, the sand between my toes. And I can see and visualize that wave building big, and it is getting ready to come crashing. And as it's getting closer and closer to where I'm standing on the beach, the wave starts to crash in, and maybe I get jumped, right? Like maybe there's that splash along my calves or my thighs as the water just passes me by. I'm going to continue to take some deep breaths. I'm going to let that craving pass. Now the wave is coming back, rolling back down by my ankles and back out to the sea. It might come back and forth, right? That craving might come back more than once. And it might feel urgent and scary and fearful as it's getting bigger and bigger. But if I can pause long enough and breathe through it and imagine that wave easing itself back out into the ocean, I'm back in control. The next time a craving hits you, instead of reacting, I hope that you try this technique and respond to that craving. Get curious, where is that coming from? Breathe through it and remind yourself, it's gonna pass and you've got this.